So for our next function example, we will write an if-else function to check what a grade a student has achieved. So we'll say def check underscore grade, which will take an input numeric value as a parameter. So we'll say input, then we put a semicolon, and this opens up our function. As soon as we press enter, this should start the indentation line, as you can see here. And now we can begin to write our code. We are going to use if-else construct. So let's say if the numbers are less than 30, it's a fail. So let's write it out. So we say if input is less than 30, we say return fail. Let's say if the numbers are greater or equal to 30 and less than 40, we will say it's an almost fail. We will write it out. We say if input greater or equal 30 and put it less than 40, we will return almost fail. Right, so let me write this out quickly, the rest of this, and then we will test it out. Right, so we have the final function here. So any numbers that is greater than 30 and less than 40 is almost fail. Anything that is equal or greater than 40 and less than 60 is average. Greater than 60 and between 80 is good, and everything else is excellent. Let's run this function, test it out to see if it works. Put in the function name and we open round brackets, and you can see it says input with colon, it says any. It means we can input any type of data in this. So let's say 50 and check it. Alright, so we see that 50 falls between greater than 40 and less than 60, so it returns as average, which is correct. Let's test 81, and we can see that it shows excellent because it's not covered by any of these. Excellent is covered by else. So it checks all of these statements one by one, and then it runs the last one if nothing else matches. Alright, let's move on to our next function. We will create a currency converter function. The idea is to take in a numeric value for a given currency and give us result in output currency. As a sample basis, we will start with values for US dollars and Great Britain pound. So we start any function with def keyword, then we type in a function name. So we'll say currency underscore converter, and it will as a starting point accept one input value. So the parameter name will be input underscore amount. So we will add in a comment here, convert currency between US dollars and Great Britain pound. Let's check online to quickly see the currency rate from USD to GBP. So we can see it's $1 against 0.82 pound sterling. So let's define a new variable. So we say GBP underscore rate equals 0.82 sterlings. Now what we can do is we will multiply the input amount with GBP rate. We wrap this in print function. This will give us the converted currency. Let's run this and let's test out our function. So if I give it 1, so $1 US as input value, and you can see that it's printing as 0.82 pound sterling. Right, so we can replace print statement with return statement, which is always better because we want this to return of values which we can store and use later on. So we say return input amount into GBP rate, and then we type 1 as input value. So let's try say 5, and so $5 US is equal to 4.1 pound sterling. Alright, so our function seems to be working fine, but this is all hard coded. What if we want to make it dynamic such that it can calculate currency rate for more than one currency and for different dates as well? Well, fret not, Python has a library for almost everything. You just have to find and read the documentation on its usage. So for this case, we will use forex underscore python.converter library to achieve this task. It can simply be installed by doing pip install forex underscore python.converter in cmd. So let me type this out here really quick. So we can do is pip install forex underscore python.converter. Right, so since I already have it installed, I'm not going to reinstall it. Now that's out of the way, let's test it. So as per its documentation, you need to import from forex underscore python.converter import currency rates. So let me add it here. Let me create a new line. So let's import this. Now that's done. Right, so the way you test out the rates for different currencies is you type currency rates and then you type get rate. So currency rates with an empty parenthesis dot get rate, and then you type in the currency names. So let's say you want to convert from USD, US dollar, to Great Britain pound. This is the syntax for it. You close it, let's run it, and you can see it's giving us 0.820 as well. Right, so now let's make our function a bit more dynamic. So we will add two new variables to our function named input symbol and output symbol. So let's modify this. We say input underscore symbol, output underscore symbol. We will also replace GBP underscore rate with a generic variable name. So let's rename it and say converted underscore rate. We'll also replace this here since we are multiplying it. Now we know that this whole line is giving us the converted rate. We will copy and paste this here. Instead of 0.82, let me add a new line. So I'm going to leave the above there as well, just for reference. I'm just going to comment this out. Alright, so we know that this whole thing is returning as 0.82. Now we can make it further dynamic by replacing the symbol names as well. So for USD we will say input symbol, for GBP we will say output symbol. Alright, now that's done. Let's test it again and run this function again. And in the converter function we will give two new inputs as well. So it says input symbol and output symbol. So for now let's say USD and GBP. You can see it's working and it is converting the US dollars to Great Britain pound. You can also convert this to any other currency. The list of supported currencies are available on the documentation page of this library if you want to take a look at it. Now this dynamic, you can use this to do anything else as well. So let's convert Indian rupee to Great Britain pound. So let's do one for now. We see that 1 Indian rupee is equal to 0.0099 Great Britain pound. You can also wrap this in a round function. So let's say you don't want to see all of these decimal places. What you can do is you can wrap this in a round function. So round, and then you give it the round figure. So it says ended number of digits, you say let's say 2, and now it will round this to 2 decimal digits. As you can see, it's rounding it to 0.01. Let's change this to other way around and it should still work. So 1 Great Britain pound is equal to 100.33 Indian rupees. Alright, so this wraps up the video on example 2 and 3 on Python functions. In the next video we will look at function example 4, in which we will create a function and apply it to a Python pandas data frame. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.